guys are all just coming up to the stage. I just want to remind you about, actually, my dad told me that I wasn't very clear about what this is. So you just, as these guys all assemble on stage. So this is your ballot. It has the name of each short film on it. So we encourage all of you, before you leave, to just rate each film individually, and those scores will be tallied and counted toward an audience award at the end of the festival. So it's very important for all these filmmakers. All right, now that you're all assembled here, I'll just start off the Q&A by saying that it's an incredibly diverse group of films, and they all feel stylistically really separate. So I'm wondering if each of you could just say your name, the film that you're here representing, and just talk a little bit about when you're deciding on how to tell a story or how to make a film, how you kind of choose those stylistic elements or choose how to tell the story more than what story you're telling. Gail?
Okay, so I'm Gail Maurice. My film was Assini, and it's set in the 70s. I went back home to shoot it, and all the kids that were in the film have never acted before. The two leads are 7 and 9 years old. And stylistically, I just tried to bring colors in that were from the 70s and not show, any satellite dishes and stuff. And Melanie Braze, my producer.
Hi. Yeah, that's basically what Gail said. When we were shopping for costume, we did everything. So the costumes, our colorist, we shot it in the fall. Everything was just oranges, yellows, browns, and that really just dictated a lot of the style.
My name is Roxanne Whitebean. I'm the writer, director, producer of Legend of the Storm. I decided, because the film was inspired by my community's experience of the 1990 Oka crisis, I decided to, we shot in 4K, and we used an old Canon lens from the late 70s, and we created this dreamlike setting because we thought that, because we only had 3 days to shoot it and we had such a huge story to tell, we thought that it would really help us obtain all the shots to complete the film. So it was a really great experience, and all of the actors, it's their first speaking roles as well. Thanks.
My name is Wayne. I made Luck Like I, and I think that when you're making a movie about something that's truthful, I guess, you're trying to aim at something that's not concerned with the reality that it's supposed to denote, but rather something that's fictional. I believe that truth is structured like a fiction, and that's the way that you should make a movie.
My name is Jessie Short, and I did Wake Up, and I guess my film sort of started, my idea sort of started here when I lived in Toronto for a while, and if I ever identified myself as Métis, it was sort of like blank, and so I just started saying, like, because I didn't know what to say, well, have you heard of Louis Riel? If most people have gone to school in Canada, they've probably heard of him. They'd say yes, and I just say, well, he's Métis too. So I kind of thought, when I reflected on that, like, I wonder what they thought about that. Like, what do you mean? Like, he was alive in the 1800s. And then I also had really short hair at the time, and it used to kind of just do this crazy thing in the morning and just look like Louis Riel's hair. And I just thought, I want to do that and just see what happens. So, yeah.
I'm Caroline Monet, and I directed Mobilize. The film was actually commissioned by the National Film Board for the Pan Am Games that happened in Toronto this summer, along with a larger project with 3 other filmmakers. And the idea was to look at their archives and make this 3-minute film. And I wanted to make a film that showed Native people kicking ass and showing off their skills. So that's what I did.
My name's Amanda Strong, and I co-directed Mia with Bracken and Hughes Corlett. And we applied for the National Screen Institute's Aboriginal Documentary Program, knowing that we kind of both wanted to attempt animation. It probably wasn't designed for an animation. There was 4 other projects, but we challenged ourselves to do that anyways. And for me, I'm interested in trying to, like, I guess, tell Indigenous stories, or now going more into like my own background, and finding ways to do that through animation, where you can still like challenge that it is still truthful kind of content, even though it's just visual or auditory. And yeah, just felt it was something that we wanted to do, and that's why we approached it in that way.
Yeah, Bracken, and I guess like where my aesthetic comes from is the Northwest Coast, and I'm interested in telling those stories. But this was a collaboration, so it was kind of a mixture of both of our styles, and that's what it was.
All right, do we have any questions from the audience? One up there.
For me, I noticed that it was a mixed media production. Did you already know, were you already using Adobe before making it? Or
Yeah, we're both pretty rehearsed in like Photoshop, Illustrator, and After Effects, and I believe we edited in Premiere as well, so it was all Adobe. But yeah, we've kind of have backgrounds in that as well, but we did have a team who helped us as well.
Down here in the front.
Hi, I really enjoyed all the films. And a lovely combination. My question is for the Left Eye Mother. I was really interested in your fragmented storytelling approach, and how you actually incorporated takes and sometimes just seemingly unconnected shots. Is that a style that you've been working in for a while, or is that something new?
So I'll just paraphrase. So the question was for Bucklucky Mother from Wayne, about if the style that the film was produced in is something that he's been developing over a long period of time, or if it's just something that you started for this film.
I guess like cinematically, yeah. This is my first crack at hybridity, I could say. There was indeed a script. There were a few scenes in the final film that reflected the script, many didn't. But I guess the fragmented nature came from a lot of the psychoanalysis that I'm engaged in and the theory that I read. I believe that images are specular identities, they're wholes, despite the fact that we live fragmentary lives. And so my attempt with the film was, instead of trying to provide a whole orthopedic image that you can fall in love with and identify, something that's more fragmentary, something that provides you a little more anxiety, because I believe those are the lives that we live.
All right, other questions? Just there.
My question is for Gail. I thought the kids in your film were really talented and amazing, so I'm just wondering what like how you directed them or how you got them to perform so well.
And just the paraphrase, the question was for Gail about how did she get the performances from the kids in the scene?
Well, I went home probably about a year before the audition. So by the time I got back, I had talked to them a bit just on the phone. So it was just getting to know them, and so that they weren't afraid. And my crew was small, so and also it was hard. I'm trying to say that it wasn't hard. It was hard. For example, the classroom, we had the kids there was 15 kids, and we had them all day. So by the end of the day, they wanted to quit. I don't want to be here anymore. I want to go home. And I'm saying, why do we have to do it over and over and over? So I'm trying to teach them, and like about filmmaking, okay, that you'll see. So I took it home to show them in the school, because I needed them to know that we had to do it over and over again, because for different angles. So then afterwards, when I showed it to them, I said, this is why we had to do it over and over and over again. They go, oh. So I took a lot of, I took a lot of takes to make sure I had believability. Yeah.
Just down here.
Hi, my questions, and the films were all really amazing. My question's for Roxanne. I'm just wondering, is it your interpretation of the story of how the Oka crisis happened, or was it like a combination of people in your community telling you the story, or your own experience? I'm just wondering how you told your story.
It's definitely a mixture of my experience and I guess conversing with my peers as we grew up over the years, and a lot of our experiences are very similar. So I wanted to make a film that didn't really show the barricades and the warriors and everything that we're used to seeing. I wanted to be able to share our story and show what was happening within the homes and away from the barricades and the people that were really involved, because it wasn't just what the media, it didn't just represent, you know, the stories and all the action and everything else. There's a lot that is missing still from this story, and I don't think that this is the end-all be-all in short films for the Oka crisis, especially from the perception of a child. There are thousands of children that were directly affected.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Sorry, I really enjoyed the whole program, but my question specifically for Mobilize, it has such a strong visual rhythm. Did that come entirely from your choice of music, or were you sort of aiming for that? And then, I guess at what point did you bring the music into the process, and how did you work with the archival footage in relation to that?
Yeah, well, the NFB had already secured either A Tribe Called Red or Tanya Tadak, but I really wanted to make a fast-paced film that would be in movement. So I picked visuals that were constantly showing movement, moving forward. I wanted to portray a nation moving forward and not stagnant in time. So I picked the most upbeat track from Tanya Tagak's album, and I wanted people to be totally out of breath after watching the film, almost like you had a plug on your brain and you didn't really know what just happened to you. You were just bombarded by information and feel kind of energized and excited about what you saw on screen. So that was the idea behind it.
That's great, and we've got time for one more question. One more? At the back.
It's a question for Wayne. The dialogue was incredibly, it felt realistic. I've never done whatever drugs that was or been a prostitute, but it really felt authentic, and I'm just wondering how you got there.
I got my friend who is a heroin addict and my friend who's a sex worker to act in the film. So I met them on the street, and then we ended up hanging out a lot and drinking a lot and making a friendship. And originally I wanted to base a movie that was more fictional off of their lives, but then Angel, who's the actress in the movie, we were drinking one time and she said she can't tell the difference between actors and sex workers. And so I said, okay, well, you should just act in the movie then. And she did.
All right, well, thank you all so much for coming, and don't forget to vote for all the films, and check out the catalog and the app for all of the other awesome things that are happening.
He didn't? Yeah.